Welcome. Today we've got Kim Wallace of Design Roofing here to tell us about protecting your asset. Hi, Kim.
Hello, good morning. How are you?
I'm great. It's a good topic and obviously one that affects everyone because we've all got a roof. Tell me a little bit more before we go into our discussion about design roofing and what it is you guys do for the condo community.
Definitely. Thanks, Thomas. So, Design Roofing's been in business for 42 years this year. It's
Wow.
actually family owned and operated. Myself and my dad run the company at this point. And the big thing Design Roofing focuses is on the service side. I think roofs are often out of sight, out of mind, and people believe that, I get a new roof, I don't have to do anything for 30 years. But that's not the case. If you do maintain your roof properly and you take care of it, you're protecting that very expensive asset you have, and that's going to save you money and headaches in the long run. So that's the big thing we focus on.
Very true. Well, certainly it does mean a huge amount to your building and to its integrity. And we've got a lovely picture there of some guys on the roof. Tell us about design roofing.
Yes, so like I mentioned, we've been in business since 1984. We started in actually a bone on the low heat highway in Pitt Meadows.
Yeah,
Um, So it's come a long way. We're in Port Coquitlam now. We have a very large fleet of big red trucks that can go out and service you, and a team
I've
of
seen.
experienced people. We actually have the first employee ever. Janet is still with us, and that's something we really stress. And I think that's what makes us special is our experience team. So not every roof leak or not every roof issue is simple. So we use our team of experienced people to help our customers and help the stratas. And every job you do, whether it's $500 or 500,000, you get custom reports done. So that's really important for record keeping, especially as councils are changing, property management managers are changing, and that way you have record of exactly what you did. And a big thing about design is we're a member of the Roofing Contractor Association. And so this just ensures that you guys are being protected with insurance, quality, safety. We actually get a report card every year, so to make sure that we follow the proper rules. And just where that's important for councils is you're getting a proper company. Anybody with a pickup truck can say they're a roofer, unfortunately, and we want to make sure that you guys are protected.
That makes a lot of sense. And we talk a lot about that continuity of information between councils or boards and between property managers. So having those records that you're giving them so that they know what's been done when, I think is really helpful and not something I'm aware of many firms doing.
No, it's good. And what we find is, say, Joe Smith will take over a building. They'll often reach out to us and say, "Hey, do you have records so I can review them and to see what's happening?" And then we can just send them, and that way make sure everybody is on the same page.
Wonderful. That's great. So let's talk about protecting what is arguably the most important asset in your building. It does sit over the whole thing. Please tell us about it.
Yes. So your roof, as we mentioned, can be out of sight, out of mind. But it's similar to a car. You don't get a brand new car and drive off and never do anything. You have to do oil changes, rotate the tires, and do regular maintenance. And that's what we think is important for your roof, is doing an annual inspection, doing the repairs required. And then you know ahead of time the condition and you can plan. You can plan, when do I need a new roof? When do I need to spend that money? Something that's come up the last few years is the insurance requirements part of it. Is we're finding people will call and say, "Hey, my insurance is due next week, but the company is saying I haven't been doing maintenance, so they won't renew." So it's always a little stressful at that time, but we make sure that they follow those insurance requirements.
Certainly. Are there specific roof types that those insurance requirements are more strict for now?
Well, if you have a tar and gravel roof still, that roof is going to be over 20 years old probably at this stage. So that's what we're seeing more. The insurance brings up on those older roofs. And as well as, I hate to say it, but a lot of new development, they don't put the best roof on. So often they'll put a liquid membrane and it doesn't have a long life expectancy, but it's cheaper at the time. So those ones are ones that we're getting more questions from the insurance companies.
Really interesting. I know that in certain areas, they're not even insurers won't even accept some old cedar shakes shingles. I've heard that on Bowen Island. I know that there are all sorts of different requirements now that are coming in. So that's very interesting.
No,
What are
definitely.
some of the myths that you hear about roofs?
Oh, well, I'd say there's a million, but some of the key ones would be, hey, I don't have to do anything with my roof. I'll say somebody says it's a new roof. I ask when it was installed, and they say 10 years ago. That's not the definition of a new new roof. So that's a really common one. My caretaker can take care of the roof maintenance. That's a, forget even about the technical roofing part, the
Right,
safety.
right.
The safety is so important, and WCB has been cracking down on that more, and they should, because we're talking about people's lives. Is you want to make sure you're properly safety. Nobody should go on the roof without fall protection, proper fall protection training.
Yeah. No, that's true. I have a particularly steep roof, so there's no way I'm going on it, but we also have a flat section, so I can get up through my skylight hatch, but I don't go any further than that to clear the drain, but yeah, that's obviously when you're talking about a commercial and strata community, safety is paramount, and I assume that there are some out there that claim to be roofers that don't have adequate safety measures or insurance.
Oh, definitely. And you can see it when you're just driving around. Sometimes you'll see a guy on the roof with no shirt and no harness. Um, and, uh,
Right.
yeah, unfortunately, we see it too much.
Testing mortality. When it comes to leaks, and most people at some point will be in a home or a place where they experience one, what should they do
They should call a roofer right away.
right away?
And I find some people will call a restoration company, which is good. You need a restoration company if you have major inside damage, but they're not the experts on the roof. So you need to make sure that you have a proper roofer. And if you have a roofer doing your annual maintenance, then you can just have that on your call sheet. Making sure that you stop and minimize further damage. Some people think I have a stain on my roof, not a, oh, sorry, on my ceiling, not a big deal, but you don't know what structural damage that's causing.
That is a good point. How often do you see that minor showing of perhaps a discoloration or something on their ceiling being the first indicator versus a more serious type of water ingress problem?
Yeah, probably more often you just get a stain because it might be a slow leak, and sometimes the slow leaks are the worst because you don't notice it until it's major issues, whether it's in your attic that you have mold developing, or it could be a big ventilation issue. At this time of year, you do see condensation problems, which
Mhm.
you also should be calling your roofer because it could be an attic ventilation issue. It's not properly venting, and the airflow is creating the condensation.
Interesting. Obviously, we've talked about using unqualified contractors. Not only might they not show up the next day, but they're probably not insured. They're probably not following good safety practices, and they may or may not be treating your roof the way that it should be, whether they're there for maintenance or doing a re-roofing project.
No, definitely. We're actually helping a strata right now that unfortunately they spent a lot of money on a new roof. The company didn't finish, is now out of business, and they have so many leaks. And I just feel so bad for them because they invested the money to do it right. And unfortunately, they went with the cheapest price and it didn't work out. And now they're having to spend more money to fix it to avoid any further damage.
That is gut wrenching, isn't it?
Oh, it's terrible.
Not
And
to go into too many specifics or anything, but did this community have a manager or did they make that decision on their own?
they did have a manager, but the council's quite involved. So I wasn't at I wasn't involved at the time of the decision, so I don't know. I just am trying to help them at this point, but
Of course.
I just know, yeah, and that company that they actually used, this is the second job we've taken over fixing, um, fixing the issue. So you just want to always check, and that's why using members of the Roofing Contractor Association can ensure that you know that company is going to be around tomorrow to help you.
Right. Really good point. We're going to come back to the importance of safety in a couple of slides, but I think this really captures something important for those that are trying to cut corners when it comes to their roof maintenance or when it comes time to replace it. Why don't you just hit them with this stat, Kim?
Yeah, definitely. Well, roofs represent only 5 to 7% of the building's capital costs, but cover 100% of the building. So you think about that is if you just can save or put aside in your budget a small percentage of your budget to do roof maintenance, that will protect your whole building actually by avoiding or minimizing leaks.
As someone who's had a roof leak, I can assure you that this is true. This is great.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
fun.
No, it's not fun, but it's important. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so this is a penetration on the roof, very common. You have the wires going in. I don't know if this is an HVAC or some type of electrical penetration. But the membrane, as you can see, has a hole in it where that arrow is pointing. And this is a very, very basic maintenance item. It would take less than 5 minutes to repair, and instead they didn't repair it, and their entire building flooded. It's a commercial building out in the valley. And so a little repair that would take 5 minutes, I think the flood ended up costing them around $200,000.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
amazing.
And this is the sort of thing that a experienced roofer would identify immediately when doing an inspection or performing maintenance, right?
Exactly. Yeah, this would be one of our common line items in a roof maintenance program.
Right. Okay. Well, now you know. Ooh,
Exactly.
small
No, that's
defect,
beautiful.
major damage.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
wow. So when you get onto the scene, you're there, you're going to stop that roof leak, and then you bring in a restoration company that's going to have to go deal with the rest. They may or may not have the benefit of their insurer involved, depending on the nature of the problem and everything else.
yeah, exactly. So we would just be focusing on the exterior roofing part of it. And then the rest, actually, this particular incident, a restoration company called us out because they realized that it was a roofing issue. So that was quick on their part to get that stopped.
That is obviously great. Well, I mean, we all know water comes from lots of different places, including plumbing systems and everything else. So it's good that they were able to identify it quite quickly and get you guys onto the scene.
Definitely.
Let's walk everyone in the stratus through why this roof maintenance is so important and what it is that they've got to do to make sure that they're protected.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the number one is extending the life of your roof. What if you don't do any maintenance, say your roof might last you 15 years if it's installed, depending on how it's installed, but if you do proper maintenance, we're having roofs that were installed properly that are reaching 30, 35 years. So that's a big savings in the end. As we talked about the insurance, everybody needs insurance. So if you're not meeting that requirement, that's a big problem. Minimizing roof leaks, so catching small issues before they become major issues, a big part of maintenance, which then leads to limiting emergency expenses. Doing an after-hours leak call or getting a restoration company, that's not cheap. Even if you're going through your insurance, you have deductibles, it might raise your insurance in the future. So then that just makes you able to budget easier. Thomas and I were talking earlier today that it's not actually that common that roofing is a line item in a budget. But if it's not a line item, how often are you doing it? Probably not very often. So
Probably not.
if you could plan it, just get it in your budget, even if it's a small amount, just start with the basics. And then it becomes an annual program that you do. And then overall, you're just protecting the structure of the building.
That is the ultimate goal. I'm going to revisit a couple of the points on this slide because I think they're great. Extending the life of your roof is an enormous thing in terms of your budget and your capital. If you can get an extra 5, 6, 7 years out of your existing roof, you're not just deferring that cost by that period, you're giving yourselves as owners in this community time to continue to contribute to your reserve fund to pay for it.
Hmm.
So this kind of proactive expenditure, which will be this much on your annual budget, will make a much bigger difference to your ultimate capital cost if you're able to do this less. And I know it doesn't feel like it at the time. You think, oh, 20, 25, 30 years feels like a long time. That whole my roof is 10 years old and new is obviously one of those factors. But I think that that's something that I want everyone to proactively think about. And the second is coming back to, that budgeting piece and actually having the line item for it, because that general exterior maintenance line is going to get used up on what people see, and they don't see the roof. They're not up there, but it's protecting them. And I just wanted to reiterate that if you document it and if you plan it, then it will happen, and ultimately that will lead to better outcomes for them. And obviously, you would be more consistently involved in ensuring that they can get that ultimate longer life out of their roof.
Yeah, definitely. And even if, like, let's say somebody's listening to this podcast and they think, oh, we don't have it in our budget, I don't even know what to put in. If you reach out to a qualified roofing company like Design Roofing, we can give you an inspection and give you an idea of how much it's going to cost. So maybe you can't do it right away, but put it in the budget for the future. Design Roofing offers no charge roof assessments, so it just gives you an up to date report, and then you know how to plan.
That is a great opportunity. I think a lot of people are probably scared to look. Having it be no cost for you to do that assessment for them gets them to take that step and have a better assessment of what their practical needs are.
Exactly.
Mythbuster time.
Yeah, this is always the most fun because you hear a lot of things in this industry. Yeah, so like we talked about the maintenance person or council trying to complete the roof maintenance was definitely is not true. Roofing is an unskilled labor. I think that's an important one to talk about because it's actually a Red Seal ticketed program. So we sponsor our technicians to go through the Red Seal training program, which is a 3-year program. What they do is they go to school for, they have to work for a while, get a certain amount of hours. Then they go to school for a month to 6 weeks. Then they come back and work in the field. Then they go back to school, and it's a cycle. But they get to know the proper standards of roofing. Things like the penetration needs to be 8 inches above the roof deck. Well, we often, unfortunately, see that doesn't always happen. So they learn the proper standards. The OCA standard book, it's now electronic, but it used to be about that thick with everything, and that's what they learn. So making sure that you're using Red Seal ticketed roofers ensures that they have the proper standards.
A novice would not have picked up that roofing issue that you identified earlier, while someone who has that knowledge would identify it immediately. I think that kind of is the difference between someone who's unskilled and someone who knows the business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, definitely. The other one that I've actually seen, I see on LinkedIn, is the drains and gutters are not a roofing issue. So that's very much not true. Your drainage and your gutters are part of the roofing system. So you want to make sure those are properly not only installed, but maintained by a proper company. I see some cleaning companies now deal with those, or that's something, again, that, my council will take care of. But you got to be careful because that's safety too. It's high up, they're not on the ground.
Yep.
And you want to make sure that those are clear. And that a couple of years ago, we had that storm where it snowed and then it rained. The number one cause of leaks for that was blocked drains. Is that The drains were blocked, so
Yeah,
when it rained, the water just kept rising up
backed
and
up.
finding a place to go in the building.
Wow. So definitely your drains and gutters are part of the roofing budget.
Exactly. Yeah, that's good. I don't know if you want to go through any of those. The roof leaks show up directly below the problem. Well, that's a big one because,
Big one.
oh, it could be leaking right above me, but it could be coming from 100 feet away. Water travels. It always tries to find the path of least resistance. So a leak investigation is not as simple as, going right above me, throwing some mastic down. It actually involves a process to ensure that you find the correct defect.
Sure does. If you've got a sloped roof, it'll follow those beams. It will always travel. And
Mhm.
it is why water is my least favorite thing.
Yeah. I love water, so
Oh, I know you do. As someone who has had multiple issues involving both plumbing systems and roofs, I can assure you that water is very much my nemesis. And of course, once you know it, you can solve the problems. But who do we have and what are they doing here?
I don't even know. Um, it's a funny thing, but in a serious manner, is safety.
Yeah.
And not only like is it a either WCB could fine or you could get something like that, but somebody's life could be at risk.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
It's easy to laugh at a picture because the guy's being a goof, but you don't have 9 lives, and you shouldn't be
no,
risking yours dangling like this or taking any kind of shortcut when it comes to working at height.
yeah, exactly. So that's something to always ask your roofer is how they're doing the fall protection. In showing on a roof like this, sloped roof, you probably will install temporary anchors for the scope of work, which is important, but it's also time consuming. So those factors go into the scope of work when a qualified roofing company is quoting it.
I hear a lot of things about roof anchors and how expensive they are to maintain. This is the first time I've really heard discussion about a temporary anchor, but obviously that makes sense. They're going in anyway. They can affix something that will give them the security that they need.
Yes, most sloped roofs don't have permanent anchors. It's
Mhm.
not the most feasible option. So you install temporary ones when you're doing the work and then you remove them when you're done. Because let's say I install the temporary anchor and I leave it, you can't use that next week. Oh, you should not use that next week because I installed it. So our technicians will install them, do the work, and then remove them.
Right. Interesting.
Mhm.
You see all sorts of new information that I've learned when we do these podcasts. That's great. Please tell us about the safety requirements, Kim. What is this telling everyone?
Yeah, so this is the WCB, although it follows most international safety rules, the hierarchy of fall protection. So, of course, we try to minimize any safety risks, but as they move through the process, depending on what the building is. If you go on a building that has railings all the way around, much safer than you go on a sloped roof where you're installing your own anchors. So we don't cut corners on safety. So when we come up with a job and the technicians feel that we have to come up with a different safe work procedure, we'll go back to the drawing board and come up with a plan on how to do it, whether we bring a boom lift in, whether it needs scaffolding. There's lots involved. So sometimes the smallest repair, unfortunately, takes a lot longer because of the safety aspects of it. For example, actually, we've dealt with, say, a downpipe that's clogged. Well, the only way to get to that downpipe might be scaffolding.
Right.
Uh, so what's a 5-minute repair requires a proper setup, but those are not places to cut corners.
Interesting. Interesting. And this is your fleet.
Yes, there's a small percentage of it. Yeah, we have a big warehouse in Coquitlam where we keep all our trucks and equipment.
I've seen the red livery around town, so it looks good.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so we're going to ask just a couple more questions and talk about some things that may not have come up in the course of this conversation. obviously, we want to stress that proactive roof maintenance is the way to go. It could extend the life of your roof. It can obviously give you a better of appreciation. It can stop those surprises, and nobody wants those surprises. How does a strata and a council specifically determine which contractor to use when they're looking? You've mentioned before there's this roofing association.
Hmm. Yeah, that would be a big thing. Is they actually have quite a good website that you can just go into where area you're
Right.
in the province, and it will give you suggestions. Not every company focuses on service. There's some really good companies in the province, but they prefer to only focus on roof replacements. So that's something that you can find out on the OCA, or you, of course, calling is the best thing.
Right. And when they're making that trade-off, because strata councils are always trying to determine which within a range of proposals they could consider, um, price is one metric and sort of value and service is the other. How does design roofing approach those conversations, and where do you find yourselves on that price quality matrix?
Yeah, no, great question. I think design roofing is very competitive with other qualified companies. You can always get a cheaper price in roofing. You can go next door to Joe's Roofing or whatever for that, but you want to make sure you're getting value. So making sure a company that stands behind its work, that's there to help you when you need it. We're 24/7. You can call us anytime. And you get the report, which is a big part of it, because you want to keep that record keeping, and that should be included in the service. That shouldn't be an extra charge. When you're paying for proper value work, you should get the back end services as well. And just, I find talking to the contractor, honestly, is that you can find out a lot of information. We actually created a bit of a checklist, which, if anybody's interested, they can reach out to me, just with lists of things like insurance, safety, training, 24-hour emergency service, that type of stuff, so that you know that you're asking the correct questions.
That's great. And you guys do a complimentary roof assessment as well. So if someone's looking to get this service and wants to know where they're starting from, you guys will send someone out.
Yes, definitely. One thing to always make sure too, I should add, is if you're getting a quote from anybody, make sure there's quantities. Don't just for them to say, "Oh, we're going to renew
Right.
caulking." Well, how much caulking? Your building might have thousands of feet that are needed, which might not all be needed this year. So that's an easy way to compare apples to apples, is making sure you have quantities on all the line items.
I have a question for you. If you are a big strata and you've got a large roof system, whether it be sloped or a mix of flat and sloped roofs, how frequently should they have that? Is this an annual thing, or do you do it a couple of times a year? What's the process for them?
So normally we recommend annual, and there are some stratas that prefer semi-annual actually, especially if they have a lot of trees around them.
Yeah.
So semi-annual might be better to ensure that the drainage is good. And then some of the manufacturers do recommend semi-annual inspections at least to ensure that your roof is uphold. But annual minimum, we do have, like if you have a large complex, let's say you have 100 buildings, it might not be feasible for you to do maintenance on all 100 buildings every year. And that's okay. But you can do it in phases. So do 20 buildings a year. And yes, it's going to take a little longer, but it's better than nothing.
That is a really good point. That level of proactivity can be there even if the overall picture is too much for them to do all at once. I
Hmm.
like that. We've put up design roofing's QR code on our screen. They can visit you to learn more information. Do find Kim and get more information from her there. Is there anything else that we didn't talk about, Kim, that we should add?
I think that was the main thing. Like I just said, is do something. Whether it's, this year you only have money for drain cleaning or sealing some penetrations, but work with a company that will work with you. So if you come to me saying, "Hey, we had a big elevator project this year. We don't have much money." That's okay. Let's do something.
It's a good plan. Action over inaction every day. I appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming on to share your insights with everyone, Kim. That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Thomas, for having me.
And we will return next week with Michael Laporte of Clarity to discuss depreciation reports and
Right.
all of the good things that happen with that. You're smiling. Do you know Michael?
I do, yes, great guy.
Wonderful.